Is Arlecchino worth it for you? The harsh truth. Now, if you're like me, someone who's done a lot of waiting for her release and to see more information on her, which I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason it's genuinely been really hard to see any proper information on her that wasn't C6 gameplay. And that's honestly just not the best reference point, considering how honestly most players probably won't be spending thousands of dollars on her. And well, if you are, you can or you will C6 her, then this video is probably not that important to you, as almost any C6 character is pretty broken. So I'm making this to target those who want to know if she's worth it for a low spender account, or if she's just really a valuable unit for your account. Now, Arlecchino can be pretty intimidating and confusing, as her kit seems overly complicated, that being with her Bond of Life mechanic. However, it is not as complex as you may believe. So I'll try to simplify it for you in a way that dummies could understand, like myself, because trust me, I also had a headache trying to understand the Bond of Life mechanic. Let's get the basics out of the way. Now, if you don't already know, the Bond of Life mechanic is how she deals her damage and heals herself, as she cannot be healed in any other way. Essentially, a rotation from her could look like this to give you an idea of how you would use her. You'd start off with her skill, which marks her enemies, and afterwards, when you use her charge attack, you will claim that mark, gaining a certain amount of Bond of Life, which is more effective depending on how much time has passed since you applied the mark from her elemental skill and used her charge attack. In simpler words, you want to use her skill and let a few seconds pass by before you use her charge attack. You would essentially start off a rotation by using Arlecchino's skill, switch and use your support unit, switch back to Arlecchino, use her charge attack, spam normal attacks, and essentially end her rotation with her Q. If you're able to, you can also consider adding her elemental skill before using her burst to essentially heal more, since the more Bond of Life you have, the more healing you'll receive. It is a well-known fact that she will be a unit that cannot be healed, so any healers, no matter who, will not be able to heal Arlecchino, which can be quite a problem for you if you don't have a shielder like Zhongli. I say this because this essentially does limit her in a way, as you're not just using a shielder like Zhongli to protect her from being killed so quickly, but also to prevent interruption from enemies while she's attacking, as C0 Arlecchino can be easily flung around, unlike her C1 counterpart, which has a bit more interruption resistance. This may not be your biggest concern if you're in the overworld and run a team comp like Arlecchino, Yelan, Kazuha, and Bennett, since most enemies are fairly easy to kill in the overworld. However, this may be more concerning for you if your main concern is the Abyss, as in the Abyss, you'll want to replace Bennett with Zhongli, which does make her lose some damage that Bennett's burst provides. However, I can't imagine you clearing the Abyss without a shielder to protect her from getting one shot or dying as fast as she can. She does have a 20% innate damage resistance, but I wouldn't count on that to be enough without a shielder. Quick disclaimer, if you love her as a character and you want her, don't let me stop you from getting her. This doesn't take away from the fact that she is an amazing DPS unit, and is quite literally my favorite Harbinger, so this isn't in no way biased or just Arlecchino slander. And also, please consider subscribing and supporting my channel. I am new to content creation and would like to make this a full-time deal, so any and all support is heavily appreciated. Now let's get on with the video. Now in terms of weapons, and if she needs her weapon desperately to be usable, it should be noted that the difference between her signature weapon compared to her other 5-star options is typically around 20%, which is pretty insane from her signature weapon, obviously if you want to see huge numbers, but not so crazy that if you use Jade Spear or Scarlet Sands, or her more free-to-play options like White Tassel, it will make her completely useless and unplayable, so don't feel obligated to pull for her weapon, although I definitely know that most of you want the Scythe at all costs, because believe me, so do I, but I just don't want you to feel like it's the end of the world if you don't get it. So is she worth it for your account? In my opinion, if you don't already have a good DPS, which most of you should and probably do, but if you don't already have a good DPS and aren't willing to invest in Arlecchino's teams, which in my opinion, her best being Vaporize Arlecchino and Monopyro, which consist of Arlecchino, Yelan, Kazuha, Bennett, and or Zhongli for her Vaporize team, and Arlecchino, Bennett, Kazuha, Xiangling, or Zhongli for her Monopyro, then you can honestly skip the banner. And her best free-to-play option, being White Tassel R5, is a bummer, and is overall a 29% difference compared to her signature weapon, which can be a bit disappointing. So is she worth it for free-to-play players? I'd definitely say that there's better DPS units that are more free-to-play friendly, that aren't going to have such a big difference between their signature weapons and their F2P counterparts. But if you really like her, I wish you the best of luck, and hey, you can always save those premiums for her rerun. Regardless, I'd still highly recommend waiting for her release to see if her damage with her free-to-play weapons genuinely satisfies you. And upon her release, I'd highly recommend checking out people like Xiox and Braxophone for good references and reviews upon her release. Pretty much sums it up. I personally will still be pulling for Arlecchino. I highly recommend, again, you guys please wait for her release. Check out her gameplay, see her free-to-play options, and if the damage satisfies you, then still pull for her.